Morning all. Hope you're having a good morning. Well, I got the third viewer video up, and God, that was the biggest hassle. When I got it all done, I uploaded it, and apparently I somehow, when I was compiling, I had some computer problems with one segment. So I compiled it as a video without any sound. I was having problems with the sound. Shut down the computer, restarted, attached the sound, and it recompiled it. Okay, everything worked great, but I had two versions. And somehow I grabbed the wrong one when I compiled the video, missed it when I checked it. So the first video goes up, and the last half of it, or third of it, doesn't have any music to it. I'm like, oh, genius. It only had like 46 views, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take it down, get the right thing, and then recompile, put it back up. And of course, time just has a way of getting away from you when you're doing this anyway. Get it back up. Then come back, check, we'll have 2 views. I'm like, I mean, I don't want to sound narcissistic, but I should have at least 30, 40 views. Come back, give it a little while, come back to 5 views. I'm like, then I'll look copyright claim, but not the little green one that just says, there's a copyright claim you can't monetize. I don't monetize, so that doesn't bother me, as long as you guys can enjoy the music. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't have the license for some music. And it said, you know, it didn't say, but it was yellow, which means it's blocked in some countries or something anyway, or restricted, or so. I'm like, somehow a few of you found it, but anyway, it could be a geographic location, but obviously that meant it had to be taken down, so I used some, I had a suspicion, because I'd used some of that music before, so I had a suspicion what was probably the blocked music. I knew it wasn't in the first 2/3 because that had already gone up without any problem. So I used some royalty-free music, and what I figured was safe, or I've used before. And so that's why the third time it went up, and by now it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm off to bed, so I'll check. And a couple hundred, 500 views this morning. So yeah, okay, it's up there now. Unfortunately, some of your comments were lost also, because when you take down a video, all the comments go with it. So if you want to say something, Chris, it's just go ahead and re-enter. That's probably what happened, because I got in your last one. I forget who did that. Is a British soldier, a doughboy? I think it was a doughboy, the bust. Beautiful work. But some folks had some questions about that, so maybe you want to put in the comment section about how you did it, or, you know, that was a very well done, haunting figure. Also had some questions about chrome parts, and it's funny, I just forget who I was talking to or asking about that, but they were talking about how the chrome parts were made, and if I remember right, they're injection molded and then the coating's added afterwards. I forget, but maybe one of you guys knows. But personally, although the chrome parts are cool, some of the time I found they can be a trick to work with, because, you know, when you clip off the screw cutters, and I've got these cars I'm gonna be working a while, I'm sure they've got plenty of chrome parts, and depending on where the where you have to cut it off, there's you know, there's no chrome on the area that gets clipped off, and it happens to be exposed. You know, you touch up with silver paint or chrome paint, which might do the trick, but it takes a little something away from it sometimes if somebody looks real close at it. Like I said, the most difficult model by far I ever made, which thankfully turned out halfway decently, but was the most difficult, was that Vincent Black Shadow and the motorcycle. And because it was extremely detailed, I forget who made the kit, but it was extremely detailed. But there are so many complex, tiny parts on that thing, like the little T-shaped pieces that go on the wheels, or the air pressure valves, which I guess in the Black Shadow probably kind of that you pull up and rotate or something, because they have the little T-arms on them. But These things are so tiny. And I think it was some of the circular bolt head covers or valve covers or something on the engine that were of those chrome parts. And of course, when you clipped them off, they were so small the whole side was exposed plastic. So I just touched them up with silver, but it didn't really match. I didn't have chrome paint back then. I actually built that thing in an airline crash pad, and I didn't have my proper tools. I was using a box cutter and brushes, and that was really about all I had to wear, and a sanding stick, because there was no hobby shop nearby there in Kew Gardens in New York, so I had to use go to a local hardware store and find what I could find there. And my brother reminded me yesterday when I was talking about all the stuff, all the pictures he had up on his wall. He also had, I've never seen it since then, I'm sure you could find it on the internet, on the Star Trek stuff, he also had a picture of Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock holding a really nice model of the Enterprise. I don't know if it was the AMT kit or the small shooting kit. Memory serves me right, it was bigger than the AMT kit, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was an AMT kit, but he was holding this beautifully made model of the Enterprise. That was a good picture. And by the way, some of you guys might remember the episode of Star Trek where they come across the guy who has his own planet. He freezes the Enterprise and shrinks it, puts it on the desk, and Kirk looks through the view screen. You can see the bridge frozen inside, and you see Kirk's big eyes up on the view screen. And I'd always assumed that that they had just used one of the AMT models, but I read on one of the Star Trek websites that was actually the 2 or 3 foot shooting model they'd made, because they made the big 11-footer that hangs in the Smithsonian, and they'd made a smaller one, and that was actually the studio prop, not a kit model. Was it Requiem for Methuselah, I think was the episode? And something one of our local TV stations did in the, I guess it was in the 80s, that was pretty cool, was they showed Star Trek every day, because obviously it's in syndication there, like 4 in the afternoon. But what they did was, you see, when I actually worked at one of the TV stations in town for a while, and volunteer, because I wanted to be in TV, so I asked them about an internship, so they basically saw free labor. Anyway, point being is that when they would get these television shows, they get the syndication packages, and by the way, as late as the 1980s, a lot of these things are still being shown on film, real honest to God film. That's another story. But what they did was they would also get the advertising packages, the trailers. And this station, which I thought was a clever idea, you know, most syndicated shows, they just put in the lineup, show the shows. They're basically filler for cheap commercials. Anyway, what they would do is they would actually, during the day, they would show the trailers. The original, real honest to God trailers, you know, Next Voyage of Starship Enterprise, or Star Trek The Next Voyage. And these were the old trailers they'd used back in the 60s. And then and they would put at the end, you know, 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And that was a nice touch. So that kind of put me in a mood to go buy some more Star Trek models, and I think I probably bought a few models because of that, you know. So it works, puts it in your mind. And but I was always fascinated with the making of the show as much as the show itself. And that's why the book, The Making of Star Trek, was so interesting. And of course, it wasn't until I did the AMT video that I realized that that book was actually written, I think it was off the top of my head, was it Steve Poe? But anyway, it was, he did it under a pseudonym, I think Wainwright, which is like his father-in-law's name or something. But in the A&T video, I get into that in some detail. And that's when I talk about, he was actually one that wrote the book. So the book, The Making of Star Trek, which my brother somewhere has an original copy. But it was written, that book was researched and written by the AMT model company representative, who was not an AMT employee. He was hired from an outside consulting firm, I think out of Phoenix. But that was just kind of one of those cool things, another connection between the modeling world, the literary world, and Hollywood. By the way, Garfield, kudos to you. Garfield had 4 of these made, and one for each cup of the day. I'm impressed. No, excuse me. To quote Kern of the Klingon Empire, impressive, most impressive. Gosh. Okay, slightly off the topic of models, but related tangentially because models were made of a lot of these things. Your favorite television show themes? For me, and there are so many great ones, and yes, I love Star Trek and Baba Black Sheep and so many of the great show themes, partly for nostalgia, but also I still think it's the coolest one. The Wild Wild West. It's probably my imagination, because I know they made some kind of Wild Wild West toys, but I wonder if they made any kind of kit model in reference to the Wild Wild West. It was a Western. If not, you could probably kit bash something, get some of the horses from Atlantis or the Zorro figure and make some modifications. Always had that, Jim West always had that matador. That's what they were looking for, that waistcoat with a super tight pant. You always see because Conrad did all those little fight scenes. You'd always, you see his clothes ripped apart over a couple episodes. You kind of glance and his pants were ripped wide open, but they left it in. And you know what I mean. You know, that brings up an interesting question, talking about, characters. We always see the busts, the famous or whatever they are, the Born Losers cartoon busts, or the like Napoleon and Hitler, or the real serious busts like a British soldier. I've never done one. My painting skills aren't that good. I'd probably embarrass myself. My wife could probably do it. So she does. I mean, she can do the eyes on dolls. But it makes me wonder, if you don't build it as a model, because you always see them like in Fine Scale Modeler, we always see these things. I'm just wondering, I guess they're models. Is a model something you have to build, or is a model simply something in miniature? Well, that's an interesting question. There's our head scratcher for the day. What makes a model a model? Well, on that complex note, I will wish everyone a wonderful day, and to save everyone a bunch of time, including myself, I'm just going to live this straight from the phone. No editing today. You're getting it as I made it. You guys take care, and maybe tonight I can get another After Hours episode out. Take care.